yeah, Premier League's back, football's back, well underway, so we're happy about that, and we're going to be uncovering it all like usual. So, start off with our team, Brighton, shall we? First and foremost, disappointing, really. Overall, 2-1 loss to Bournemouth. Seen a lot of reactionary comments from Brighton fans, which isn't too surprising by now. But yeah, what were your thoughts on it?
I think it's really early days yet. Bournemouth are a good side. We got beat by the odd goal in three, so you just got to trust the process, haven't you? I think the problem with Brighton, from what I haven't sort of delved into it too much, but they were saying on the Albion Unlimited podcast that it all revolves around Belieber, and he
Yeah,
didn't start. And when Brighton are going well, Belieber's getting the ball from the back four or the two centrals and bombing forward. But the fact he didn't start on Saturday, then he came on, and when he came on, all he was doing was passing the ball backwards and sideways. So I think that's a problem, really. What is the matter with Belieber? Has his head been turned by United, or
well, we said, didn't we, when we were at the City game, that his head don't look in it, and it don't to me. He's not been playing. Obviously, we've only had what 4 games, but he's not been playing at the same levels that he was playing at last season.
No.
That is a struggle. Is a concern. Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah? Uh,
It, yeah, but I just think all the it will be the first time that all the media's been around him massively. I mean, Man United, obviously a massive club. He would have had people on social media messaging him saying, come to Man United, this and that. Hearing about the transfer fee that was going to be given to Brighton if he went to Manchester United, which was what, about 110 million, was it? Something,
Easy, yeah.
something ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, now the transfer saga's gone, I'm hoping he can sort of get back in his stride. But yeah, when he came on against Bournemouth, he just didn't look himself, did he? He gave the ball away and then just had to drag down. I think it was Evan Nilsson just to give away a booking. I saw on the highlights because of just a dodgy touch. So it's just
Yeah.
them little things that he did so well last year, which have just gone down a bit in level at the minute in time. But I think he'll pick it back up eventually. It's just because he's a young lad and all the saga around him would have got to his head, and you can understand why millions of people wanting you to go to a certain football club, it must get to your head quite a bit.
Yeah, fingers crossed he picks up that form again. I mean,
Mm.
it was disappointing ways to concede for Brighton. I mean,
Yeah,
defending for the first, I've got a couple things to unpick. The defending Dunk's header out was rubbish,
yeah,
and then not closing quick enough. And Verbruggen seems to not be able to save a long shot. This is the second already this season.
yeah.
Garner scored against us from outside the box, and now what was it? Alex Cook, this fella for Bournemouth,
Alex Scott.
Alex Scott. That's it.
Yeah,
He just doesn't seem to be very good from long distance. And I know a few people on Twitter have questioned Bart,
yeah,
so that's a problem for me, to be honest. And the second goal is just absolute schoolboy defending. Dunk's given the ball away and then just gone teetotal towards the ball. But we had 4 people around the
yeah.
player already. If he had just stayed on the far side, that goal never happened. So
No one tracked the far winger. They were all on one player. It made zero sense to me. It was, as you said, schoolboy defending
yeah.
for Brighton.
The last thing from me, what do you guys think? Because I've seen a few people say that don't really think, or Brighton fans this is, don't really think we have much of an identity and don't really see the vision from Hertzler. I mean, I don't really buy into it. I look quite closely into the tactics and stuff though and try to break it down. But what do you think?
I think they've got an identity. I think it's only 4 games into the season. It's too early to start talking about things like that. I really do. I think the fact of the matter is they're doing better than Man United. So, I
It's not
mean,
very hard nowadays.
no, but the thing that I wanted to talk about with United is that I've read loads of articles over the last week, really, saying that actually Amarin's doing a really good job there, and United stats don't do justice to how they're actually performing. And that talks about what their expected goals are and things like that. And it's just, I mean, that's maybe it's a generation thing, but I'm reading things like that, thinking, okay, so that's what all the stats are saying. That's apparently why Amarin's not been sacked yet, because all the stats are through the roof. They
Yeah.
should be winning. They should be winning games. They're not winning, and that's why they've not sacked him. And yet, I watched that game on Sunday, and they were absolutely awful. So I don't care what it says on the stats. They were diabolical, and they
Yeah.
didn't look like they were ever going to get back in the game.
No.
You know, he's wedded to this 3-4-3 system, in which he decided that Bruno Fernandes was going to be one of his defensive midfielders.
Oh, yeah, that's so.
I don't care what people say about stats. I really don't. I know that it's the way modern game's going. But when you just have watched the number of hours of football I have, and you look at a football team, you can see a rubbish football team, and that's what they were, United.
I don't think it's a generational thing because I don't buy that either. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think XG is a intriguing bit of data and it can be useful. However, I don't think it. I wouldn't say just because they had really high XG, then they deserve to win that game because City absolutely played them off the park. And City, if they were a bit more up to it, I reckon could have gone and got 4 or 5, but they kind of
Yeah.
put their foot off the gas a little bit.
Well, I
Yeah.
think I said to you, Sterling, when the game was going on, that if City scored 4 or 5, I wouldn't be surprised, and he could be sacked before the day was out. I mean, I just looked at that team. Sure, not the slightest bit interested. God knows what he was doing on the pitch. That Dorgu got into position a couple of times to cross the ball. Couldn't manage to cross the ball into the box though. And now, what are these stats that people are looking at that say that these players are 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 underperforming and that it's all going to come good? The only player on the pitch that I would take out of that team and put in the Brighton team is Mbano. I wouldn't have any of them,
Well, not right.
including Fernandes.
Yeah. I was going to say, but yeah, you both make good points on the Brighton question, Sterling. I think Brighton fans are so reactionary, if that's how you say the word.
Yeah.
Every loss, it just all Brighton fans just go against Hersler. He's had a better record. I know, well, Zerbi's given us the best time in our history, but he's got a better record than Zerbi at Brighton after 50 games. He's reached his 50th game against Bournemouth. And he's got a better record than him. And then on the identity, you can see it against Man City. He's done it to a T, especially in that second half. I just think Brighton fans are they're impatient sometimes. They need to trust the process, which is quite a used term in football nowadays. You've got to be patient with managers, and we saw that last season. He got 2 points off of what De Zerbi got in our Europa League season in the league table. And it's not like it's been an easy start for Brighton. You know, winnable games. I think we won all of the games against the 4 teams we started against last season at least once. So it is concerning, but you know, I just think he proves the doubters wrong quite a lot of the time. Hurstler, he did it against City. Everyone was like, "Oh, that lineup looks awful," and then we managed to win. So I just think it's about trusting the process there. And then on the Man United game, I just think one of the main problems for me is you're playing Bruno Fernandes at CDM. He's the best. He's one of the best cams in the league, and you're not playing him in his natural position. And that's why he's not getting the goals and assists. We've known him in the Premier League for getting goals and assists in the last couple of years, getting at least 20 goals and assists in the season. And he's only got 1 goal this season from the penalty spot. Just, I think, because he's playing too deep. He shouldn't
Yeah.
he shouldn't be the player that's getting the ball off of Harry Maguire and then popping it into Euro. he shouldn't be doing that. He should be getting the ball off the midfielder, turning out, and then having a pop at goal or playing it into his wing backs. That's one of the things where I think Ruben Amorim's gone wrong with
Right.
a really strange shape, which he says all the time in interviews he's not going to change.
Yeah, I've had to take him out of my fantasy team for that reason. He's not cutting it. But just quickly on City, then we'll move on. I think City were really good. I mean, Haaland's firing on all cylinders. Looks back to his best. I mean, he was everywhere in his own box defending and then taking his goals nicely. So he might be one that I'm going to have to try shoehorn into my fantasy team. But yeah, I was impressed with City, and they kind of look like they're thereabouts, but not quite fully there to me.
Yeah, I think Rodri's going to help him, isn't he? It's just naturally trying to build it back into the side after that long injury he had. You didn't see it against Brighton when he played, but it wasn't going to happen straight away. It wasn't going to click straight. You would have been very surprised to see that happen so quickly. And I think we saw, as you said, glimpses of what they can do, what they were, 2 seasons ago. Just absolutely unstoppable at times, just unbelievable. Four titles in a row. So yeah, I think with Rodri back, Haaland, as you said, banging in the goals, I put him in my fantasy team this week, so I was absolutely buzzing with that. But yeah, he looks like I remember I heard something from someone on TikTok, like he's just an animal. He's so good at what he does. Like you don't see any other striker in the world similar to Haaland because he's so good at what he does. And every time we see him at the Amex, I think he's scored. He's just absolutely lethal. So yeah, on Haaland, I just think he's an absolute freak of nature, and I can't see the goals stopping anytime soon.
Agreed. Right, let's move on. Dad, you wanted to say a little bit about Liverpool, didn't you?
Well, just really that champions do what champions do. I mean, that was a a last minute goal again. I think the first team in Premier League history that have won the first 4 games with goals after the 80th minute. So,
Oh really?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that's the stat. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, that is.
the thing that I don't understand is why Sky picked it for television, because there were some nice games on that game week, and I know 1 or 2 of them finished 0-0, but I think the Brighton game would have been a better game to have had on the telly. I didn't catch the start of it and was watching it on catch up, and basically playing at 6 times the speed every time. It was just, it was all one-way traffic. It was a boring game to watch for the
It was
neutral.
dull, yeah. But to be fair, gutting for Burnley because they actually, I know it's not pretty to watch, but for them against Liverpool, they just need to try grind a result and be hard to beat, and they were. But it's a
We've,
savage
we've,
way
said,
to lose the game.
we've said this before, though. I mean, we watched Marseille last night and we were talking about how much De Zerbi demands of his players. We watched Chris Hughton's sides, Brighton under Chris Hughton, battle for survival by just pursuing those sorts of tactics. It's not pretty,
No.
and it comes unstuck 9 times out of 10. You've got to be on the front foot. I think that's why De Zerbi was such a breath of fresh air. I think Potter was very conservative in comparison. I think it's the wrong tactic for Burnley. I really do. I think they've got to try and go for it.
But it's finding that medium, though, isn't it? Because you look at Russell Martin, Southampton, they come up to the Prem and they try play on the front foot and they get absolutely wiped the floor with every game. So it's finding that medium, and I think comes down to a bit more bravery. You've got to be resolute and you've got to defend well. You've got to be solid and hard to beat, but then you've got to try want the ball, and when you've got it, keep hold of it and try to do something with it.
Yeah,
it's true.
But Burnley had a great defensive record last year in the Championship, so they clearly know what they they're doing when it comes to defending games like that. After I think, well, they conceded the least amount of goals in the league last year. They went on a run where they just didn't concede a goal for a certain amount of games.
Yeah.
And you know, if that worked in the championship and they just missed out on the title, why wouldn't they use it in the Premier League? Because they nearly got 100 points. So you wouldn't just change the tactic from we're in the Premier League now, we've got to go attacking. You've got to stick with what helped you get into the league. And it nearly worked against Liverpool. I know it wasn't nice to watch. Just not like they didn't really want to go and win the game. A point would have been an unbelievable result for them. And they nearly got it with a outrageous handball. I don't know what Hannibal was doing, but yeah, I think Liverpool did well to beat that sort of side. I mean, it's tough to play against that. And I thought what was really class in the post-match interview is like Arne Slot saying, they put all bodies behind the ball, but he's like, fair enough. Like, if that's what you got to do to get points, you've got to do it. And you get some managers that just go, so boring, you can't play. But he just accepted that they're in a fight for relegation. Every point counts in this league. Every team's gone down in the last 2 seasons that have come up. So it would have been a handy point for them. So I think it was class from him that he sort of respected that they were going to play like that.
Yeah, agreed. You wanted to touch on a couple more games, didn't you, George? You want to start off with...
Yeah. I just wanted to touch on Villa's disappointing start. I mean, they scored in the Carabao Cup yesterday in their penalty shootout, I think, to Brentford. But in all the 7 leagues that we covered, they're the only team in those 7 divisions to not score a goal in the league, which is absolutely mental stat, considering how many teams we cover on this podcast, and they're the only team not to score a goal. Continued this weekend, obviously away at Everton. But yeah, they're one of the only 2 teams not to win a game yet. They've kept 2 clean sheets, which is positive. Good defensive record, but it's not like they haven't had the ball. I've got down here, they've got the 5th most possession in the league with 56%. So it's just about what they're doing with the ball. They've got more possession than the opposition. It's just a factor of how they're creating chances, I think. And they bolstered an attack with Jadon Sancho, guest hand. I think he came from Nice. I might have got that wrong. And they also got in a few other players. Harvey Elliott, that was it. He scored last night. So, yeah, I was just surprised at how they started because it was such a positive season last year, getting into Europe again, and now they've not scored a goal in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think it comes... Well, there's a multitude of things that could be going wrong at Villa, but I think large part of it comes down to, I think they're lacking a bit of pace up front, to be honest, and they play this weird formation. I think it's a 4-2-2-1, something like that.
Yeah, I can check. Yeah.
4-3-2-1's doing my numbers. Maths ain't my best thing, but 4-3-2-1, and it's like they play 2 cams behind Watkins, one being McGinn, and then they'll play another person next to him, probably Rogers.
Yeah, you're right. You're right with the formation. I've got it up.
Yeah. And I knew I was right because it's the point that I've been thinking to myself. I don't like that formation, and especially with the players that have got playing there, because McGinn's not overly quick, Morgan Rogers isn't overly quick, and the fullbacks aren't very quick. So that formation would work if you've got 2 cams who are a bit quicker. But even then, if you had 2 fullbacks who are really quick and could push on high, because I think that's the idea, because they don't have much width in that in that formation, because they're playing 2 cams who want to go wide sometimes to provide the width, but they can't. They're not as mobile. And at the end of the day, they're cams. So they're playing more inside. The idea is to get the fullbacks up, I think, and they're not very mobile. So I think the formation's letting them down, and they are lacking a bit of pace. So when I watch them, it's just very slow. They're lacking width, as I said, and that's not a good combination. They don't really seem to attack with much pace, which is surprising because Villa in recent seasons have done exactly that. Like I remember at the end of last season, Rodgers, Asensio, Rashford,
Yeah,
Watkins,
at the Amex.
Leon Bailey, yeah, Leon Bailey, Matson, Marlon as well. Like they had loads, and they do have loads of players who can do that.
Yeah,
I do think it'll come good for him. To be fair,
yeah,
Well, they've got Unai Emery there, so they could easily turn it around. I just think they're too slow. I think you talked earlier about Brighton not having an identity. I don't think they've got an identity. I think when I watch them, it's almost as if they're attacking for the sake of it. They're not really got an idea of what they're trying to do. It is very, very slow. The squad, I think, Emery will say that he wanted to refresh that squad much more than he was able to, but wasn't able to because of financial restrictions. So that's obviously a problem. And then bringing players in late in the window, we spoke last week about how that was one of the reasons Nuno left Forest, was he just was fed up with the fact that he wasn't being able to get his pre-season done with
yeah,
players on the pitch. So I mean, Harvey Elliott, they obviously need a creative number 10, which they haven't got. Harvey Elliott can play there, but it's going to take him a while to be assimilated into that role. He didn't play week in, week out for Liverpool, and he's only just turned up at Villa. So
yeah,
yeah, that'll come good for them, I think.
yeah, agreed. Well, I'll finally just touch on very briefly a classy Spurs result and performance. 3-0 against West Ham. The woes continue for the Hammers. But Spurs looking good again. We did mention that, 3 clean sheets in 4 games,
yeah,
conceded 1 goal all season. Bergval was brilliant. Van de Ven got him in my fantasy team, so buzzing with that. We were watching it. I actually celebrated when he scored. I was buzzing. Clean sheet, and a goal. So
yeah.
it's
Not
up
bad,
there.
not bad. Yeah, no, but yeah, they played well. They've only conceded 1 goal, as he said, and what I thought was really a really good performance. Bergvall. I watched the game. He was absolutely brilliant. It was a great header for his goal as well. Looped over the goalkeeper, and he was just making Spurs tick about. The ball was moving quickly, and it
Yeah.
all surrounded around him. He was really class, and he's sort of coming into his element in the Premier League. And also, Pat Matasar as well. You can't shadow out him. He also got on the score sheet. And I put in my notes, it sort of shows that their centre mids are allowed to push forward under Thomas Frank. They've got a bit of stability at the back with João Paulinho. I'm guessing who's probably sitting behind
Yeah.
who going forward. And they both got on the score sheet. And Xavi Simons picking up an assist. I don't think he looked very out of place. He looked quite confident in his first start, getting an assist. So yeah, I think it's really good signs we've got them this weekend. So we'll be able to comment on them more into detail on the way they play and how they perform. So yeah, really class performance from Spurs, and it keeps getting worse at West Ham.
Yeah. Less said the better, really. Right, let's move it on to Championship. Middlesbrough still top of the table. Um, Still unbeaten as well, Middlesbrough, and new manager Rob Edwards having a really good start. I was impressed with them. Yeah, they had a good result on the weekend. And I was looking through, doing a bit of research. They've played three at the back with wing backs a lot of the times this season, but they also switched to a four back. So I think that's impressive because as a manager, you need to have a plan B. We touched on Amarin; he's not got a plan B,
Yeah,
and that to me is not a good manager. You need to have a plan B. So I like that from Rob Edwards. And it looks like a good team they've built there. They've got Luke Ayling and Matt Target, obviously Luke Ayling of Leeds formerly and Matt Target of Villa. Both played in the Prem, both experienced pros. So they're mixing that with a nice bit of talent going forward with Tommy Conway, 2 goals and 1 assist already this season in 5 games, and Morgan Whittaker as well, who we mentioned for Plymouth last season, joined in January of last season, and he's had a good start to the season with 2 assists. So they're looking good actually, Middlesbrough, and I wrote in my notes that, well, I was starting to write in my notes, but I didn't actually write it down. But they've been ticking away in the Championship quite nicely for the last few seasons under Carrick, but didn't quite get over the line, and then he's gone. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're near the top at the end of the season, Middlesbrough.
The trouble with Middlesbrough really is that those clubs that have got the financial muscle from the Premiership parachute payments start to flex their spending power now. I watched Ipswich destroy Sheffield United on Friday night, and Jadon Philogene, he scored a hat trick. One of the goals, I think the second one, was an absolute world class finish from the edge of the box. And I was a bit disappointed that he went to Ipswich because I sort of watched a few of his games when he was on loan season before last. I think it was at Hull, and he had quite a good record there. I think he scored 12 goals in 32 games, and I thought he might have been a player Brighton would have looked at, but you see that sort of spending power that Ipswich have got to go out and get him, and I think they will start to move up the table. And we've spoken before about the fact that Birmingham have got that sort of commercial clout behind them. Middlesbrough are a well-supported club, so they probably can sort of all the teams in the division and not getting the parachute payments, they'd be one of the ones that can compete. But just going back to Sheffield United a little bit, I just can't understand why Chris Wilder's gone back there. It's the 3rd time he's gone there. I mean, they sacked him after he'd led them to their best ever finish in the Premier League. They sacked him.
Yeah.
They sacked him because he lost in the playoff final. It's just, it baffles me.
Proven though, isn't he?
Yeah. But the thing that really baffles me is that Sheffield United have got no scouting department apparently, and they do all their scouting via AI.
Oh God, that's awful.
Yeah, that's
So
poor. That is.
whatever that is doing, it isn't working.
Scouting by AI.
Yeah, that's what they do. They
The
don't
thing
have.
is, the thing is with that, it's just so robotic, isn't it? And talent identification is based on a multitude of things, and you're looking at so many different combinations of characteristics as a person, on the ball, off the ball, how you interact with your teammates, how you interact with opposition, all these types of things academies will look at. So to do it by AI, where it's like, well, he's 6 foot tall, or he scored X amount of goals. Yeah, like I think that's really poor, actually.
Yeah.
And the thing is, with AI, AI is only as good as what you put into it.
Yeah.
If you're putting an AI prompt that says, "Find me a 14-year-old striker that scored 30 plus goals and is 6 foot tall," it's a rubbish thing to put in. So why do you expect it to come out of anything other than rubbish?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, the appointment of Ruben Sellers in the first place after the playoff final was baffling. I think I said it at the start of the season why they would bring him in after, he's not really a proven manager top half of the Championship table. And now they've brought in Chris Wilder again for the 3rd time. I mean, it's absolutely mental. It's weird why they sacked him in the first place. But why would they if you get that many points in the Championship, and replace him with a manager that just about kept Hull in the Championship last season? It just it was weird to me. And then on Middlesbrough, they've started off brilliantly, as you said. I think Rob Edwards is a class manager, and we saw at Luton getting them in the Premier League, so he's got that experience of getting clubs into the league above. Especially with Luton. I mean, that squad I would have thought that Middlesbrough squad he's got at the minute is better than the one he had at Luton. So, and he's got some really good players. one you didn't put down is Hayden Hackney. He's really on the radar of Premier League clubs. He was going to get a move on deadline day, but it didn't happen for him. So he's going to spend another few months maybe in the Championship before he gets a move. But
Where does he play?
he plays centre mid, Hayden Hackney. He's a proper good player, in my opinion, anyway. But he's been on the radar of a couple of Premier League clubs. So clearly isn't going under the radar for teams with better quality, you could say. But yeah, it was a class performance from Ipswich. They needed that after a poor start to the season. Their first win of the season, shall I say, and more goals in one game than they had in all the games they played before, which is mental to say. They got Hurst on the score sheet and Clark and Leif Davis, who was really good in the Premier League last year for Ipswich.
Yeah.
He looked really good. I watched the game as well, so they're looking positive as well.
They've definitely got that Premier League experience. I mean,
Yeah.
Philligan, we mentioned, he should be playing Prem. And I'm surprised that Leif Davis didn't get picked up, to be honest, because he had most assists in the Championship the season they got up. And then he had a few last season and he looked decent. I mean, Brighton could do with another left back because our new one we signed just got injured, and I'm not too sure why we didn't have a look at him, to be honest. But move it on. Another win for QPR, George. I know you've done a bit of research on this. Big win. I saw the goal for, I know you're going to get into it, Richard Kone, which was a banger.
Yeah.
And he's looking really good. And I think people were saying they got him for like 2 million or something like that. So, what do you think about him?
Exactly. Richard Kone's looking brilliant. Signed from Wickham late in the summer. And yeah, as you said, their second goal was unbelievable build-up for Richard Kone's goal. It was just one touch, playing through the lines, and then a first-time finish from Kone into the top corner.
Yeah. Little flick from Harvey Vale as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got the assist, didn't he? Yeah. I got a stat about Kone. He is now the first QPR player to score 3+ goals in his first 4 games for the club since Jibril Cisse in March 2012, which is a very impressive stat for someone that's just moved up a league from League One for a struggling side of Wickham in League One at the minute, which we may touch on in a second. But I think since their 7-1 defeat, which we absolutely ripped into them for, they've completely proven all wrong. Both 3-1 wins, 6 goals in 2 games, up into a mid-table place. So the new manager, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I know he's French, but he's starting to pick up some results which are really positive. And the second goal I saw, which went viral on the internet for how good of build-up it was top class, and clearly it looks like they're getting the players ticking about.
Yeah, that finish was unreal. Top right corner.
Yeah.
A little bit on Wrexham. They're struggling, probably not doing as well as some fans would have thought, aren't they, Dad?
Yeah, I thought they were a bit unlucky. I watched the highlights of this game and Connor Cody scored an own goal to give QPR a lead, and it was pretty unlucky. And then they conceded again straight away afterwards, as you said, and they were much better in the second half. And I think with a little bit more of the rub of the green, they might have got a result out of that. That Kone does look good. I mean, he's a good age, and as you said, he scored goals at Wickham, so he'd be one to keep an eye on, I think. Yeah, but I think Wrexham, it's they come a long way, haven't they?
Yeah. I think I said in one of our first episodes that I think it'll be a bit too soon for them to get another promotion. But yeah, only one win so far.
They're doing good not to get promoted, I think, in some respects, so they can sort of take the standard of the Championship and realise what they've got to do. Really,
yeah.
You can't spend your way from non-league into the Premier League. I don't think you've got to have some sort of organic growth. So they need to work out how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to see QPR doing well. I've got a soft spot for them because they were some of the first games of football I ever went to back in the early 1970s when they challenged for the First Division title. They were pipped at the post by Liverpool. But
Nice.
they had players like Stanley Bowles playing for them. He was one of my first heroes. So yeah.
At Loftus Road as well, or have they moved, or is that the same stadium?
Yeah, still, it was at Loftus Road, but we're talking like 1975, 76, maybe even earlier than that, when you could literally drive into the middle of London and park opposite Loftus Road, because I
Yeah,
remember that's what we did.
yeah.
Parked off Loftus Road up on the pavement and then go and watch the game. There'd be 30 odd thousand people there.
Different world now. They are a likable club. I mean, my missus' family's from around Shepherd's Bush ways where it is, so I've got a little soft spot for them. Yeah, let's move on to League One now, shall we?
Mm.
Um, Back to our favourite topic, it seems, in terms of League One is Bolton, and in particular Cozier Dewberry. So I know me and George spoke about it, but Dad, do you see that winner not winner, sorry, the equaliser, 90th minute that he
Yeah.
scored from? Absolute worldie.
Yeah,
90+8, wasn't it?
yeah. No, I was when I did some of the information. I was trying to think. Let's try not mention Bolton this time. But when you see a goal like that, how can you not mention it on a podcast where you talk
Gotta mention that.
football? It was absolutely brilliant. A 1-2 played with Josh Sheehan, I think it was, and he picked the ball back up first time, left. You can't get more top bins than that against, I think, former Brighton goalkeeper Kieran Cahill.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I think so. He might have been on the bench, but I remember he signed for Leyton Orient in the summer. But anyway, he just looks like a top talent, doesn't he? And he's scoring goals for fun, getting assists for fun, and he's really enjoying his time at Bolton Wanderers.
Yeah, long may it continue for him. But in terms of Bolton in general, we've touched on a little bit of a slow start for him, and in particular, the draw was another draw. I mean, it was only an equaliser. As much as the goal was sublime, it was an equaliser. Um, 5 draws now for him. Only one loss, but 2 wins and 5 draws is the big thing. And we said, didn't we? If they don't start picking up some wins and turning those draws into wins, then they're going to find themselves really fighting to get back up near the top. Um, so that's a concern for them, really.
Yeah, but I mean, there's nobody pulling away in that division at the moment. And Cardiff and Bradford are up there on 17 points, and they're 6 points behind, I guess, Bolton. But it's early days yet. There's a huge number of games in that division, 46. So, I think, like we were saying about the Premiership, let's not get carried away with early prognosis. I think
Yeah,
they're the same with Bolton there. The goal Koza Dubry scored was a great goal, and I'm really excited about watching him over the next few months. Now, Bolton just need to turn those draws into wins, don't they?
Yeah, like Brighton.
that's it. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit of Brighton rubbing off on them there from Cozy Dewberry. Um, Plymouth Argyle, you wanted to speak about, didn't you, George? Take it away. What
Yeah,
happened with Plymouth?
I've got a soft spot for Argyle because of how much I like content creator Pieface. He's an absolute legend. He goes to the Plymouth Argyle away away games, and I watch all of his vlogs, and I just see how
Lovely.
the struggle he has going home and away, travelling the country, and seeing them pick up a win, first one of the season. It's a rare for Plymouth Argyle fans, and you saw at the end. I don't know if any of you have seen, but it just seemed like it meant so much to the fans and the players because I think that they know that it's a very rare thing that happens. It doesn't happen often that they get an away win, and it looked like absolute carnage. So if we've got any Plymouth fans watching, please let us know if you were there because it looked like absolute limbs. And I don't know if you remember that Tollage that was at Brighton before.
Yeah, I do remember him.
He plays for them now, and he's made a really big impact. You've also got Bradley Ibrahim, who scored a brace, and it's 3 wins on the bounce in all competitions. 7 goals in 2 games in the league. So, Tom Cleverley, we doubted him, but he's slowly starting to change my mind on how Argyle are going to do this season, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, picking up a nice bit of form there for sure. And I do rate that to lad. He was banging goals for Brighton's under 23s in the PL2. So yeah, it's a good signing. Yeah, impressive for Plymouth. Dad, you were wanting to talk about £24,000 at Bradford Huddersfield, weren't you?
Yeah, we were talking about this last night and saying that there's no other league in the world where the third tier would have those sorts of crowds. But then we did a bit of digging, and actually Germany's third tier has got clubs in it that are quite well supported. Dynamo Dresden had
Oh,
an
yeah.
crowd of 28,000 last season. They're in the Bundesliga 2 now.
Yeah.
But it still holds the fact, it's you go below that level in Germany and there's nothing, I would imagine, and you go to Italy and France and they just don't have anything like that there. Yeah, 24,000. Bradford City beat Huddersfield. Bobby Poynton scored a couple of goals. That's 5 goals in 7 appearances for them. And the trouble with Bradford, I think, and when you get down to this level, is that clubs in the Championship will already be taking notice of that.
Yeah.
And that sort of that level of return is definitely going to be on people's scouting lists, and whether they can keep him in the January transfer window is probably going to determine where their season goes, really. But yeah, he's another one like Koza Dewberry that would be interesting to keep an eye on to see how he's doing. The unfortunate thing about that game between Bradford and Huddersfield was the violence before and after the game, though.
Oh, really?
During the game, tragedy chanting, which is despicable anyway. But why you would do it at Bradford, I just boggles my mind, because that fire was a
Yeah, it's
complete
awful.
accident, and
Also, yeah.
it's you can say what you like about opposition supporters, but tragedy chanting is just beyond the pale as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's a low blow. But don't know what it is with Huddersfield. When we went up there, Dad, do you remember that we were going through turnstiles and Dad's touchy to say the least when he's getting searched, but we had just been somewhere to get food and he had a Sprite bottle and they asked him to drink some of it to prove there wasn't vodka and he got the right hump, so not the biggest fans of
But
Huddersfield at
got,
all.
got
The
out.
thing that annoyed me was the bloke that in the Dago vest that was telling me to do this couldn't even bother to get off his arse to tell me to do it. He was just
No.
slouched against the wall saying, "What's in there?" And I went, "Sprite." He went, "Drink it." I went, "Why?" He said, "To prove it's not got any alcohol in it." And I just thought, honestly, if when people go to the opera, do they have this sort of aggravation?
Of course they don't.
What are you treating me like this for?
It worked out well in the end, though, didn't it? Florian Andone with the winner for Brighton. That was a
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That was a good day out. Right, let's keep it stepping. Move on to League Two. I'll start off with Ian Holloway. Swindon picked up another good win, 3-1 at home to Harrogate. Still top of the table. Ian Holloway's experience seems to be doing him quite nicely, really. I mean, top of the table. And he was there last season, wasn't he? If I'm not mistaken, at some stage. I don't know when he came in.
Yeah, he would have come in at some stage. Yeah,
It was later on in or midway through the season, I think. But yeah, his experience, as we said before, is looking that is really gonna make them a strong candidate to go up, Swindon. And they've got this striker called Aaron Driran. I've probably butchered that in typical fashion, but he's got 7 GA in eight games in League Two, so that's really impressive from that standpoint. And he's a striker, and you need strikers getting in and amongst the goals. But what I thought was quite an interesting stat was out of the last starting 11 that they played against Harrogate, 8 of the starting 11 players have contributed either a goal or assist. So all around the pitch, and obviously one of them's being the goalkeeper. So 8 out of 10 outfield players have contributed a goal and assist, which is quite a rare stat. Really, you don't see that with every side, and that's a really good trait to have in a team that everyone's pitching in. I think Brighton were actually quite good at that last season, and it is, as fans, that when you've got a squad that's everyone's nipping in, the Swindon fans would be quite confident that no matter where it's going to come from, that they can get results. So I was quite impressed with that, really.
Yeah, I think that's good for any team to have goals spread throughout the team. One of the criticism people make of City now that Haaland's there is that if he doesn't score, they don't score. And I think if you can get goals from elsewhere in the team, that's. And I know I've heard Hertzler at Brighton say that that's a sort of target for them there. Yeah, Ian Holloway's a good manager. He will do well there. And it wasn't decades ago that Swindon were sort of a top flight. Well, I think they were top flight team for one season, but they were a championship team for a long time. So got good support down that part of the country. I wanted to talk briefly about Crawley. They slowly and surely turning their season round. Another good win at the weekend against Cheltenham. Cheltenham do look like they're doomed. They really do. They didn't do much in the transfer window in terms of refreshing the squad. They signed Isaac Hutchinson, who's their top goal scorer with 2 goals. But he must be wondering what he's walked into because they're conceding almost 2 goals a game. And I think, Michael Flynn's days there are probably numbered. They've been relegated from the EFL before. The season they got relegated, they won their first 4 games, I think, and then they only won 5 more games. So it doesn't augur well for them. I do think that we might have actually nailed those predictions when we said that them and Accrington are going to be in trouble. But it's good to see Crawley turn it around. I think at some stage we're going to try and get up to see a Crawley game.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
So that'll be interesting to see how they progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning at Cheltenham, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's getting any better apart from a win against a team that's right next to them in the table, not looking at much better than them. On Isaac Hutchinson, I don't know why you would move. Well, I don't think he would have expected how bad it started for him because I think he was actually a really good player at another League Two club. I know who it was, but I don't want to say who it was because I'll probably get it wrong. But I know he's been a decent player at this level for quite a while, and he must be very disappointed that he stepped into a sort of a trap really for his career. Just being at a club where it's not really going well, and you can only see him getting higher up the table. They sack the manager because he's just losing loads of games at the minute. And on Swindon Sterling, they're class, don't they? As you said, all their players are contributing. It looks like they've got a really good they're working as a team really well. Like the team's gelling together. It clearly seems that the whole squad's getting involved in the goals and assists, and I think they're 4 unbeaten in the league now. Might be wrong, but top of the league as well. So Ian Holloway's experience, I remember he was at Crystal Palace at some point, wasn't he, for that playoff game where they I don't even want to mention that, but we all know what I'm talking about. But he was the gaffer for that game, so he haunts me for that. But you can clearly see he's got the experience in management to help Swindon get up, back up in the Football League, as you said, Simon. They've been in the Championship a couple of years ago, so it wouldn't surprise you if they were a League One club by next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Right, let's move on to National League. I'll start off with Forest Green, flying still. But 1-1 draw on Saturday to Scunthorpe. Good test for them, actually, because Scunthorpe, we've all said that will be there and abouts, and I think they're sitting in 7th at the moment. It was actually a 90 plus 8 minute equaliser.
Oh,
Scunthorpe scored in the first 5, and then they went and grabbed a late equaliser, and that's signs of a title winning team. We spoke about Liverpool going on to win the game against Burnley and how that's a sign of a title winning team. And I mean, coming back in the game and drawing, is that a sign of a title winning team for Forest Green potentially?
Yeah, 100%. I think he will relish results like that, Robbie Savage, because there'll be learning points from the game, won't there?
Absolutely.
But yeah, to show that sort of resilience, to keep battling, I think that's testament to the sort of man manager he is. We're
yeah.
talking about Michael Downs at Cheltenham's not going to get that out of those players. But I think Robbie Savage is going to get that out of them. They've obviously got a lot of belief about them. We all know that football, a lot of football is the mental side of it. Going back to Sheffield United, you can't get your AI to work out whether the person you're potentially going to buy has got the mental attributes that are necessary to play at that level of football. You've got to be
Absolutely.
able to be. You've got to have the emotional intelligence of someone like Robbie Savage to do that. And I think that was a great result for him. I don't think he'll mind that at all. I think he will take that result rather than the 3 points, just because of how much it's going to teach those players and what they can learn from it going forward.
Yeah, and that's important. You need moments like that to learn from. Sometimes they're almost more important than, as you say, getting a win. One
Mm,
thing that was really interesting from last night's game, they played in the National League Cup against Wolves under 23s. One thing that was really interesting that Robbie Savage did was he brought off 4 players in the first minute of the game because there's a rule that says you have to play at
oh,
least 4 of the starting players from your last league game in
yeah.
that competition, which at first I thought was a bit of a weird rule, but I guess it's to
Try.
boost the competition.
Yeah, competitive.
Yeah, to keep it competitive. So that was interesting. Do you think that's a weird rule, Dad, or do you think that's a good thing for the competition? Because he's probably looking at it from the stance of, well, I just want to get up.
No, I think it's an absolute nonsense rule, which he proved. That's the point he's making. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a clever man. He's proven to the people that are behind the competition that it's a nonsense rule. You shouldn't have rules like that in football. It's ridiculous. If you don't want to pick a strong side because it's not your priority, I don't think imposing that quota on the teams the way to go. They talked about it years ago with the League Cup. Whatever it's called now, the Carabao Cup. They
Yeah.
talked about that. I heard one balmy idea. Someone said that to make sure that the numbers on the shirts of the players added up to less than 50 or something, because that was in the days when people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that was a lot. That was maybe about 15, 20 years ago when numbers tended to be 1 to 20. But yeah, I mean, no, I can't understand why you would do that, and I'm glad he did it. He's gone up. I don't particularly like him, but I mean, I've got a lot of respect for him, and because of I think he's going to be a good football manager, and I think that sort of demonstrates that as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I actually, just thinking about it, I don't like him on commentary. He actually
On com-
winds,
oh God, he's not a fan.
mate, he's like one of the worst commentators. He winds me up so much because he just comes out with
Was
such
the
stupid stuff.
Manchester's game in the Europa League? He was like just literally celebrating it to the mic in the background, like at least keep a little bit straight that he
Well,
is.
that was all of them because you had him, Rio, and someone else.
Yeah.
Was that the Rangers game? Anyway, yeah, he seems to be a better manager than he is commentator, so that's good for him. Little bit on Rochdale, Dad. Good result against Truro.
Yeah, I just really wanted to highlight the fact that they've gone top of the table now, Rochdale. And we all said in the preview prediction shows that those clubs that are fully pro are going to be they're going to far out muscle the other clubs in that division. And I think that result showed it. We talked about Truro sort of being out of their depth. So I think that result just sort of cemented that.
Yeah,
Really. Rochdale, 21 points. They played a game less than Forest Green, who've got the same number of points.
yeah,
But Truro looks sunk, unfortunately. And, Morecambe, sadly, look like they might be joining them.
yeah,
But you just can't. If you look at that table, you can already see that split between pro clubs and semi-pro clubs. And if they've got any, real desire to make competition fairer, they need to think about what can they do to make that difference less stark. I don't know what they can do. It's financial. What do you think, George?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think it's a requirement, isn't it, that clubs like that are behind teams of the quality and history like Rochdale, and you're seeing it by the way Chiro started. Not great, is it? I think they're near the bottom in the relegation zone, and they just really haven't picked up the form that Chiro fans would have expected, maybe after such a incredible, you could call it, title-winning season in the National League South last season. So, it could be a fact of them finding their form, trying to get used to the league, because we've seen a lot of teams like Dorking, for example, when they got promoted to the National League. I remember watching it on a bunch of amateurs. They took a lot of time to get going, but then slowly started to pick up results. So it could be the fact of that. But yeah, it just seems like a bit of a gap, doesn't it, between historic history like Rochdale being a league club for how many years and being in non-league football for the first time in donkey's years, and then Truro City being in this league for the first time in their club's history.
yeah. Big part of it, as you said, is down to financial and ways you can combat that are more publicity, and DAZN being a broadcaster for National League is a good thing, because one of the problems with football, modern day football, and the reason why the richer clubs just get more rich is because Sky Sports cover the Premier League
Yeah,
fundamentally, and the games for Championship, League One, and League Two are scarce in comparison. So a good thing for the National League and for the clubs in National League is that DAZN is now broadcasting those games every week. So that's going to therefore mean they're getting more money because more people are interested in the league.
yeah,
There's more publicity into it, so that's a good thing. And then, yeah, other ways you'd have to sit down and break that down properly. But there are ways, but it definitely is. You're right. It is quite a big gap. But I'm sorry, on Morecambe, they have played three less games, so I will say that about Morecambe. But Rochdale, remind me, they just come down, haven't they?
No, they've been down for a couple of years. They lost the playoff final to Southend
yeah.
last season.
That's right. Yeah.
They had financial problems
Yeah,
before that,
that's
but
quite
a guy called Peter Ogden took them over
right.
in 24, and that sort of stabilised them.
Right,
They
yeah,
finished 11th, and then this year they lost out to Southend. I would imagine they'd be up there. They've
Yeah.
obviously stabilised. They're a football league club, but
Yeah.
they were in League One as recently as 2021. So they're a football league club with football league players, football league budget, got this infrastructure and the support, and to get Truro City to go there and try and get a result is expecting a
Yeah.
bit much, I think.
I remember that what we said about Rochdale now, so it's no surprise really that they're near the top. I was actually just looking at the table briefly, just mention it that York have actually creeped up, because I know
Yeah, turned it around.
we've had them as one of the big topics in the last few weeks. They've creeped up and they're still unbeaten. So yeah, that's good. But George, you wanted to speak about Solihull Morecambe. Is that correct?
Yeah, Solihull Morecambe. I just wanted to speak about it being a mental game. 4-4 must have been entertaining. But I just wanted to touch on the Morecambe squad because I've seen in the recent days they just keep adding and adding to their squad because obviously their financial problems made it so they didn't have a squad for the start of the season. So they've added in Maldini Kakari. I might have got that wrong, from Arsenal on loan. I remember him playing in the EFL Cup for them last season, so that's good experience. They've got Emerson Sutton on loan from QPR, Rikaki on loan from fellow National League side Boston United. So they're getting lots of loan signings because obviously the deadline's gone. They can't sign anyone on a permanent. But I think, obviously, like you said, Sterling, they've got 3 games in hand and they're going to be behind. They've got a disadvantage in a minute. They'll catch them games up, obviously. But the new manager didn't have a pre-season with the squad, and it's just a fact of the squad having time to gel together. And I think 2 players, especially, that have got on very well since they've came in is Musquet and Aziz. I must have and
Butchered that one.
yeah,
That Arjan Araki is an interesting one because he actually played against Liverpool in the FA Cup
for Leicester.
for Villa.
Oh, for Villa. Oh, right. Oh, fair enough. But yeah, they signed him from Boston. But yeah, Musquay and Aziz, he got an assist. Musquay, he got in the National League Team of the Week, and Aziz, I saw on the Morecambe Instagram page, he's got a really good chant. The fans have already got a really good chant for him, which I think is quite catchy. I won't embarrass myself and sing it on the podcast, but you can go look it up for yourself. But I just wanted to briefly touch on Solihull as well. They've got an interim manager at the minute in James Quinn, and he's got more points than Matt Taylor did in charge of them in 2 games. I mean, I just think he might have a chance of getting the job after starting off that well. You know, you see clubs that see that their interim manager's doing very well, and then they decide to actually appoint him because of the start they've made. And he's got Jacob Wakeling scoring the goals for fun, 4 goals in 2 games, 2 National League Team of the Weeks for him in a row. So he's clearly banging in the goals, and he got them their first win of the season away at Boston. Not this week, but last week. So he could get the job. And I just want to touch on, finally, I want to ask a question because it came out today that Sutton United have sacked their manager Steve Morrison, who leaves after being at the club since January. Do you think it was the time for him to go because they lost this weekend and they've made a really poor start?
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting in 22nd, so it's no real surprise. And I think, can't really remember, but I think they were one of the ones that we all predicted to
Yeah,
be certainly not down
playoff.
the bottom. Yeah, playoffs in and amongst it. So yeah, no surprise there really.
It just goes to show the expectations in that
Mm-hmm.
division. I think, like you were saying earlier, Sterling, the fact that there's not enough attention, I don't think, at a national level paid to some of these stories lower down the division. Because once you start digging into them, they're really interesting. This National League is really interesting. There's so many big football league clubs in there, and they can't all get out of that division. There's, Sutton United have got that expectation of getting out of it, and the guy couldn't do the business. He's gone.
Yeah.
They should do something like the closest league club to that team in the National League. They have to partner up, and they can give them a bit of support in terms of, if they're away from home, go down and watch them and just
Yeah.
support. There's so many ways you could do it if you just paired them up. A bit of advertisement. bit of money towards them, loads of things. Scouting network. So just touching on what you could do to kind of get a little bit more money for the league. But yeah, I was going to say I think the whole country's back in Morecambe. Really, I know I am
Yeah.
to sort that out. But yeah, we'll move on to National League South. Every team in this league was participating in the FA Cup second round qualifying. So we're going to touch on a few of them. Worthing, our favourites, really. Well, definitely my favourites. I talk about them every week. Drew 2-2 to Jersey Bulls. So, since some of the Worthing fans actually had to get on an airplane to go and
Yeah, they would have.
watch this game, which was class, and actually, in turn, the Worthing chairman and the club have paid for their travel to this game, the replay, should I say.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was a nice touch from them, and maybe got them a beer or something anyway, but that they give back to them, which was really good. They turned it around because they were 2-0 in about the 80 something minute, or very late on. If it wasn't the 80th minute, it was very late on, and I was thinking they've messed this up because I mean they're the superior team on paper, they're a league above them, but they managed to get back 2-2. Razak Coleman de Graaf with another free kick.
Yeah, yeah.
Was really good, and then they've gone on to win the replay last night 5-0. So good result, but a little bit of concerns for Worthing again, kind of making life a bit tricky for themselves.
Razak Coleman de Graaf with another free kick, like you said, he's clearly finding his form in the Worthing shirt. After being on the bench a few times, which shocked us, but now starting to being the starting lineup and proving himself. But I just wanted to talk about as well. Obviously, a 5-0 win, comfortable. You would have thought that after getting scared away at Jersey Bulls, I think one or two leagues below them, and hammered them at home 5-0, which is probably what you expect. They probably would have had to put out a stronger squad, which they wouldn't have wanted to do, seeing as they've got a game, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to talk about, you sent it to me, Sterling, Teddy Jenks signing for the club. What a signing that is. I think last year he was at Forest Green in the National League, and obviously we know him from bringing the Brighton youth set up. So I think he'll be a brilliant addition to their midfield, which is already really good.
Unreal signing, yeah. As you said, the midfield's already really strong, and they got that Brighton connection with Jenks and Spong. Now, yeah, I think it's well. When I saw it, I was really surprised because I think Teddy Jenks should be playing in the league. To be honest, I mean he was at Aberdeen a couple seasons ago playing Scottish Prem,
Yeah.
and that's whatever you want to say about the Scottish Premier League. It's a
Still a
better
good level.
division. Yeah, it's a good level, and it's a
Yeah.
lot better than National League South. So I imagine he's on quite a tidy wage there. But yeah, unreal signing really, and with the squad that Worthing's got, they've got to push on. They really have done. They really have to. Dorking, good result. Battered Wingate Finchley 7-2 at home. Really good result.
Yeah, that's a good result, doesn't it? Scoring 7 goals isn't too bad at all. I think Mark White loves scoring goals. He's got a really good attacking record in recent years for how many goals he scored. Usually getting the most goals scored in the league. So him scoring 7 goals against a really struggling Wingate and Finchley side in the Isthmian Premier Division doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
No, not at all. Tunbridge Angels carried on, sorry, should I say, got my words muddled up, with a very poor start. They've had a replay, 2-2, had to go to replay against Steps 9 side, Stenning Town, which is 3 leagues below them. And I mean,
Play for bloody New Haven, they do.
I know it's a really poor result for them. They have gone on to win the replay 6-1.
Yeah.
After that, but it's still concerning. We've mentioned Tunbridge Angels. They're a bit of a weird one at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, they got the ex-Lewis manager there, haven't they? Still.
Yeah, Craig Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting drawn at home to Stenning Town. I mean, they're just one level up from a pub team. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a disgraceful result, really, for semi-professional footballers.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised they won the replay 6-1. They should do. There were lots of results like that, though, in that FA Cup second qualifying round with clubs in the NLS losing
Yeah.
out or getting held by teams several ranks below them. But it just shows you that these players are raising their game and, by the same token, dropping their level as well. So
Absolutely, yeah. Just finally, Horsham forced into a replay as well, to Westfield FC after a 2-2 draw as well as Tunbridge. So a couple of 2-2 draws there. Step 8 club, so it goes exactly into what you were saying, and it seems that that's just given them all the kick up the arse that they needed, because then Horsham have got on to win 6-0. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
as you say, it's given them the kick up the arse, and they've lowered their game in the first original fixture, and then realised, all right, well, they're no mugs, we're going to have to raise it a little bit.
Yeah, it's not what they need, is it? I mean, as I said on Worthing, teams like Tunbridge, Horsham, and Worthing wouldn't have needed that for their game on Saturday, which they'll have. They want fresh legs, and whoever them three teams have got will have an advantage over now. A bit more fresh legs in the tank. But one team that actually did get fully knocked out was Maidenhead. Got knocked out to Faversham Town, 1-0. Step 8. I mean, Faversham Town were recently in Stenning's League in the Southern County Football League. So that's they recently got promoted from that league, and they've just beaten Maidenhead United, who are a very well-known club, and that was at home as well. So another one of those results, which is mad to think, and it's crazy. Go on, Simon.
I was just going to say, to wrap up, just to briefly talk about the Isthmian Prem, because they won a lot of games there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
But
about to move.
my new favourite team, Cray Wanderers, remain unbeaten away from home.
yeah,
We saw them a couple of weeks ago, me and George, and they drew at Lewis
yeah,
somehow. I mean, there were a couple of fights and red cards.
yeah.
It was everything you wanted a
Couple
football match to be,
of
really.
is
Yeah, and this draw they had against Carl Shulton was the polar opposite of that. They were 2-0 up
were they?
before they ended up drawing. But, you know, no matter what level of football you're playing at, it's not easy to go away from home and get results. And the fact that they've not been beaten means that my prediction of them doing really well might come true.
You best hope.
I keep banging on about it.
You're next
I've
on the
got
line.
two obsessions at the moment: Cray Wanderers and Robbie Savage.
Be dreaming about them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a FA Cup weekend again for Ishmi and Prem. But 2 games for teams that have been knocked out as well. So, yeah, Folkestone and Victor, shocked Maidstone at home,
Yeah,
beat them 2-0. Find a good run of form at the moment. Folkestone gone up to second in the Ishmian table, so bit of a surprise there.
7 wins on the bounce for them now. Canvey, St Albans, Chatham, Whitehawk, Folkestone, and Sevenoaks. I've got down my notes, and Adam Youssef's been a massive part of that. 6 goals in the league and the FA Cup qualifying rounds so far this season, where he scored in both of those FA Cup qualifying round games before that. So he's clearly on absolute fire. And 7 wins in a row speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's quite hard to do. And
Does
smashing it in the Isthmian Prem now, second in the league, as you said, and they've only conceded 3 goals in 6 games. So a very solid defensive record, and they topped that off last night with a 5-2 win over Aveley away from home. So beating National League South opposition from last season is always a good sign for what's to come in the later stages of the season, and it looks like they're really picking up some form. I've seen their away fans, actually. They look like they come in numbers. Obviously, we like to see, all us three, seeing away fans travelling to support clubs like in this level, especially like Lewis and Folkestone and Burge Hill, etc., etc. It's good to see, and Folkestone have been doing that. I've seen it on their Instagram page, so credit to her. And if Folkestone fans, credit to you lot.
Yeah, big up. It's better than the one or two hashtag fans. Bloke with the drum that was
Yeah,
driving
one drummer.
dad mental. One drummer. But yeah.
Well, to be fair, Cray Wanderers turned up with a guy with a drum, but he didn't bang the thing in the first half.
Yeah, it was like a
Then he walked
kid,
down the.
Simon.
Huh?
It was like a 12-year-old kid, wasn't it? With it.
Yeah, then he walked down the other end of the pitch, banging his drum, banged it a couple of times.
Then stopped.
I know what you can do with your drum.
Bit of stage fright.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Right.
finish it up on Ramsgate picking up a win 2-1 at Potter's Bar. 3 games unbeaten in the league now. Only lost 1 game at home all season. That was to Dulwich Hamlet. Yeah, they're flying really.
Dulwich Hamlet, not Dulwich.
Dulwich Hamlet. We like to butcher names on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some that are excusable and some that aren't. Dulwich, not Dulwich.
No, but on on Ramsgate, Jack Patsman's on fire for them. 5 goals in the league so far, and they're one of the teams that have came up to this division and started to prove themselves. We've seen it in Brentwood Town. Obviously, we talked about that in the last episode, how surprising they've been doing after all of us putting them in the relegation spot. But they've scored the second most amount of goals in the league with 14. I think Brentwood are the team above them, and they've also conceded the most amount of goals. So they're clearly entertaining their fans with 19 goals. So clearly entertaining team to watch. We might have to go to the Lewis Ramsgate game now. We've seen they've got that many goals scored and conceded, but seven out of their 8 points so far have been at home. So it's like Brighton in their first season in the Premier League, isn't it? Home form can be so crucial, because without Brighton's home form in that in our first season in the Premier League, we would have been gone 100%. We only won 1 game away from home, wasn't it? So it
100%.
have a really good following at your own ground, like Dulwich Hamlet. It can really benefit you, and it can help players drive on. I think I saw Finley Chadwick in an interview on Instagram. He says how much it helps the players, it drives the players on. He wants them to keep coming in their numbers because it benefits the players massively. And from the amount of points Ramsgate have picked up at home, it clearly is helping them pick up good results like they did against Potter's Bar.
Yeah, it definitely helps. You got to make the most of that advantage that you get. But let's finish it up with that. It's a nice way to end it. Some very interesting games over the weekend, and yeah, we'll be at Albion Spurs on the Saturday, and we'll be back again next Wednesday. Well, film on Wednesday, hopefully it'll be out on Thursday. So thanks for listening, and goodbye from me.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.